Hey people, it's Jess and it's Sunday again here on GenderqueerChat. I just got home from riding my bike in the Long Beach Pride Parade today, so I figured I would spread some of the festive spirit. This week we're talking about disclosure and correcting people as far as our gender identity. It was an interesting couple of weeks at work for that. I actually had someone ask me about my gender identity there for the first time ever. And so backstory, I have been working with this guy who is like in the middle of going through a divorce and has been having some issues with that. And he's seeing a therapist about it, but he's been having to talk about it just because it's really hard on him right now. He's been chatting with me about stuff, and we've been getting to know each other. He's been a little more open than most of my coworkers tend to be because of that. I'm going through the same thing that I always go through with people not wanting to call me Jess and trying to use my legal name and stuff. And in his case, he was calling me Jess, but he was starting to feminize it by calling me Miss Jess, and I had to put a stop to that. So after like 2 or 3 times of him calling me Miss Jess, I had to respond to him right after he said something like that to me, and I was kind of flustered, and he was like wondering what was wrong, and I just said that I don't like being called Miss very much. So he stopped doing that, but then he started calling me silly girl sometimes whenever I would ask a question or do something like that, and that wasn't cool either, so I had to tell him that that made me kind of angry, so if he could please stop that. And then he was just getting to know me, so he started asking me questions about like what movies I like and what concerts I'd been to recently, and the last concert I was at was actually a Coyote Grace concert, so I explained to him a little about what that group is. And like as far as movies, I tend to like foreign and independent. We started talking about Almodovar, and specifically All About My Mother, which has a few transgender characters in it. So I had complained about him calling me Miss and girl, and had mentioned transgender a few times, and I was actually kind of surprised he put 2 and 2 together. And one day we were working together, and he asked me, so by the way, can I still call you my union sister? And I didn't know what he was talking about for a second, and I realized, and I asked him, are you asking me about my gender? And he was like, yeah. So he actually probably thought I was a trans guy or something, but I had to, since he had been so open to me about what was going on with him, and we had discussed like gay and lesbian stuff before, and he seemed pretty cool with that. I actually took the time to explain to him about how I wasn't a dude, but I wasn't exactly like woman identified all the time, and how I identified as genderqueer. And it was interesting. It was the first time anyone had actually like put 2 and 2 together and been sensitive enough to my gender to ask me about it. This was kind of nice, and he responded positively and has been respectful ever since. So in general, as far as like disclosing my gender identity and correcting people, it's kind of hard sometimes, just because since it's not a huge shift for people don't seem to understand. Like if I were changing pronouns or had a male name I wanted people to use, I think I might meet resistance for sure, but I think at least people would understand. I think people are stuck in the binary so much that they understand like I'm a guy now instead of a girl, but I don't think people sometimes understand so much, like I'm not exactly a girl, I'm more something else, it's not exactly a guy. So I mostly just get resistance and confusion from people around that. I still go by like she and her female pronouns, not necessarily because they fit, just because it's what people have been using for as long as I can remember. And I'm not like super fond of gender neutral pronouns. Like not necessarily in theory, but in practice, like they're really hard for even me to use sometimes. I try my best when that's what people prefer, but they really, for me, sometimes seem to like take away. I spend so much time focusing on the pronoun that I forget about the rest of the sentence that I'm trying to say. And then my legal name is Jessica, which I don't go by, and I try to keep people from using. But I go by Jess, which is, I don't know, it was different when I was on the East Coast, living in Pennsylvania. There were lots of Jessicas who went by Jess, but here in Southern California, for some reason, that doesn't seem very common, and people seem to get confused and not understand what I'm saying when I say my name is Jess. So I'm not sure exactly what the deal is with that. And then whenever people do understand, like especially in my industry in construction, people aren't super comfortable with like a gender neutral name, so they'll like go against my wishes and call me Jessica or Jessie anyway, just because it makes them feel better. But as far as like friends who've known me, who've always known me as Jess, there's no big change there. So whenever I start talking about my genderqueer identity and how I feel, people just don't get it. For me, it's more like being lumped in with all things female that makes me uncomfortable. People tend to like treat women a certain way, and that really like rubs me the wrong way sometimes, the way that people treat me based on the fact that I'm a woman. There are certain like terms that it really bothers me when people call me like miss or ma'am or lady. Those things just feel like they don't apply to me, and I understand it's hard for some people because I'm going by female pronouns and they look at me and they see a female-bodied person, so they think that it's appropriate to address me in those ways, but it doesn't feel right to me. And so in general, how do I correct people or disclose my gender identity? I don't necessarily think I have the best method, but sometimes it just comes out of pure frustration. I remember an incident at my gym where there was a guy who was working at the front desk who kept calling me ma'am whenever I would come in and out. And one day there were like 3 people at the desk, and one guy was gonna help me but was too busy, so this other guy comes up and he's like, "How can I help you, ma'am?" And I responded just by saying, "You can help me by never calling me ma'am ever again." And his coworkers kind of laughed at him a little bit, and I'm not sure whether they got that it was about my gender identity or whether they thought maybe I felt like he was calling me old by calling me ma'am instead of miss or something like that, but he didn't switch to miss. He's slipped up like once or twice since then, and he always like gets a sheepish look on his face, but I've been really like trying to like be polite and kind and like say hi and bye whenever I leave, so he knows that I'm like not super mad at him or anything. But as far as like people who are closer to me, like my friends and family and all that goes, like it's kind of hard sometimes. People almost have a disbelief. Like I talk to them about my gender identity and how I don't feel exactly female or male or really on that spectrum at all, and they just kind of act like they don't believe that even would exist. So I don't know. I just want people to treat me like a person. So yeah, that's that. So yeah, sorry about the voice. I'm just getting over a cold, so that's why I'm a little nasally and blah. But anyway, take care, have a good week, and I'll see you next time. Bye.